Great. So let's start with the first thing. So this is your repository, the Crash Course Student. Every code I do here, I will publish it in this. So you can always refer back which code I was talking about. So that's how it's going to work. So first thing, in the first, I'll create the first folder. Like for the first task that we do, we'll do folder wise. So I'll say session. There's not something for you. It's just for understanding, so that you can refer back. Basics 1. So everything we do in the basics 1 part, the variables, that's the basics 1. I'll put every code inside this folder. Okay. And let's create a new file, and let's call it hello world. There's something we start with. This must something you start with, like everybody. So that's your first Python file. You also want to try the same approach, you can create, but we'll be working on several Python files.
Yeah.
So that you get comfortable with creating new Python files.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to talk about is you can't really work in Python without any variables.
Oh,
Like
okay.
you want to work on Python, you want to store it somewhere, right? In some format. Maybe a number you want to store, a string, a value, anything. So you'll need some kind of variable. So that's the starting, you can start everything with variables. So I'll show you the first variable that you will basically work on. So you remember we created this print statement that day,
Yes.
hello world, and we just ran it and we saw hello world. Now see this string right now is just a string.
Yeah.
If I want to store it somewhere, I have to store it in a variable. Those are called variables. So let me just store the string to a new variable. I can name it anything, right? So I'm saying it message equal to hello world. And in the print function, this is a method. I'll pass message. See, output is exactly same.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm doing nothing. I'm just the statement of string. I'm just storing inside a message. This is a variable. So these are called variables where I can store something, a string, a number, or anything. This variable doesn't have any kind of type directly. I can store anything I want by using this equal to statement. So that's like the first thing. You see me using a lot of variables, but
yeah.
you can understand that this hello world is now inside message.
Yeah.
And I can use message anywhere inside inside my code.
Yeah.
So that's how these variable works.
Okay.
Now you can similarly see that if I the Python doesn't really stop you to reusing those variable, reassigning them. So let me just make it more clear. So we are right now in this topic. So that's how I'm going to comment this whole thing. So we're talking about variables, and we are talking about naming and using variable. Okay, so that you can refer back the code. And now what I was saying is maybe I want to show a new message now. So I'll say message hello Python crash course world. I can say that, right? It's English statement. And if I again print it, this is the first method you saw. Like in the Python that print something, it's gonna print on screen. So if I do this, so you'll see there are two messages. So first we saw hello world, then the same variable I assigned a new string now.
Oh, so you can use them.
Yeah,
reuse them. Yeah.
Again. So that's the thing about reassigning.
Yeah.
I can do that. Nothing, Python doesn't stop you. You can create a new variable, maybe message 2. So this is a new variable now, or you can reuse the same variable.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as soon as I assign this into this variable, the previous message is lost. Right? Like this hello world has been overridden by this hello Python crash course world.
Yeah.
And because Python is an interpreter, it goes line by line. So it comes to this line, read a message, store the message into this variable, then print it out, then come to this line, store this message into this variable. So it forgets the previous thing.
Yeah.
Because it's going line by line. As soon as it comes to a new line, it forgets the previous line.
Yes.
Now every time I use message, every time I print it here also, this will again print the same message.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not a new line and this thing has been overridden. So you see the message again.
Yeah.
So that's the naming and using variable.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to emphasize is what is the convention Python follows. As in there are some rules naming and using these variables, naming these variables specifically. You can't put anything as a Python variable name. There's a specific, way by which you can write the Python variable names. So the rule one is something that you need to remember while creating
Yeah.
Python variables. The rule one is names can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. Underscores. What this means is that I can create a variable like this, right? That's a letters.
Yeah.
I can create variable like this, the letters and numbers.
Yeah.
I can create variable like this also, letters, number, underscore.
Yeah.
Other than anything I use, anything beyond this, it will raise me an error. I'll show you that. What if I use this dollar?
Oh, it will not work.
It will not work. I'll show you that. So I'll say hello world, and let me just comment this out. So what I do is I keep on commenting the previous code so that it becomes, you can see the out. Otherwise, if I don't comment it, you'll see this output again and again.
Okay.
So every time I explain you something, I'll just comment it out.
Yeah.
So this won't run again. Okay.
Okay.
You get what I'm trying to say? Because every time if I don't comment that previous code, it will run it again and again. It will hamper your conceptual understanding.
Yeah.
So as soon as I explain it, I just comment it out. You can always refer back that code via my recording or via the Python script, but it will be commented for you. It is just something for your reference. If I run this right now, this whole thing is commented, right? It will never run. So interpreter comes, it sees this line, this character hash. As soon as the interpreter sees this character, it will never execute this line. That's how the commenting thing works.
Okay. Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're getting that why I'm commenting it out, because otherwise it will keep on printing these messages. I don't want them to be printed right now.
Yeah. I see.
You see why I keep
Yeah.
on commenting them. So that's like the
Yeah.
commenting thing. It will help you. It will help you to focus on something which I want to show, and I don't want to show this. You understood this, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to run it again and again. So I just comment
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
So, and if I remove them, then you will lose the reference thing. So I don't want to remove them.
Yeah.
I'll just comment it out. You can always refer back and see the comment to understand what I'm trying to say here.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
let me try to run this. As soon as I run this, you'll see an error.
Oh, this is an error.
So this is like a huge I'll explain you everything about errors, but this something broke apart, right?
Yeah.
And Python says that I don't understand this dollar. You see, there's an icon saying that what is this? So that's what Python is trying to say, that you are using a wrong variable name. This is not allowed.
Yeah.
So that's the first rule. And in this, you need to remember something, that even if you are using letter, numbers, and underscore, variable names can never start with a number. This is allowed, right? Letters, you can use letters, you can use numbers, but you can never say to underscore message. This is valid, right? As per the previous
Yeah.
statement that I have a letter, I have underscore, I have a number. Why I can create this, right? This will still break.
Yeah.
So variable names can never start with a number. Even though numbers are allowed, you can always say like this, message underscore to. This is okay. But a variable can never start with a number.
Yeah.
So that's like the takeaway of this rule. I'm going to comment this so that you understand what I'm trying to say here. And I've also created a new comment where I broke the variable name. This will also break.
Yeah. They both
So
break.
it will break. So now you know that's the first rule. Now I'm going to explain few rules also. So now let's go to rule 2. So rule 2 is pretty straightforward, that spaces are not allowed in variable names.
Yeah.
So you can guess why, because if I write hello, my message is equal to hello world. Like you'll say that this might be a valid variable name, right?
Yeah.
But Python really doesn't understand space as a variable name. And see, something breaks. Just for right now, just see this something is breaking, because I'm seeing a very weird lines here. As of now, you just take it like that. I'll explain you how to interpret this kind of errors. So that's a rule 2. if I want to have a variable name like my variable, I generally do underscore my message. That's how I put a variable names with spaces. Are you getting this?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you getting this right? Like,
Yeah.
okay. So if I have a variable name with space, then I generally put it like underscore. I can't write like this. That's wrong. So that's like a rule 2 of my variable name.
Yeah.
Then let's go to rule 3. Those are something which, as soon as you start working on Python, you will eventually like write variable names all in a right manner. I hardly write a variable name with a number starting. I hardly write a variable name with a space, because that's how you start getting comfortable with it. But there's something you need to remember.
Yeah.
Next thing, you should avoid Python keywords as variable names.
Oh, okay.
You can guess why. I can't say that print is equal to hello world.
Oh, you can't say that because it's a command.
Yeah,
Of,
it's
so
a
it's a
command. It's
Python.
it's a
Yeah.
function. It's a method for Python. Python is something for Python to understand. If you make
Yeah.
it a variable, it will definitely, the whole thing falls apart. Right? This definitely is gonna behave weirdly. It's
Yeah.
not breaking right now because I overridden my whole Python statement. I did something
Yeah.
with print,
Yeah.
but it's therefore says that you should always avoid. It's not like
Yeah.
you must. It says avoid. That's why, because you will do something weird, and your whole Python will start behaving weirdly. Then that's why I say that you should avoid.
Yeah.
So that's something that's one of the rule. Then let's go to the next rule. That it's not something that is like a mandatory thing, but the way Python says that variable names should be short and descriptive. Like, I'll show you why. So if I say first name is Charlie, and if I say fn is Charlie, which is a better variable name?
I think the first one.
Yeah, obviously, right? Because it's more
Yeah.
descriptive. If I'm reading your code, it'll be more easy for me to understand that you're talking about first name here than f_n. And you can obviously guess that this won't break Python, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything wrong. This is a perfect, valid thing to work.
Yeah.
But this is something which Python recommend, that it should be short, one, and it should be descriptive. You should write variable names which are understandable for people who
Yeah.
are reading your code.
Yeah.
So that is something as a rule 4.
Yeah.
So see, as soon as I explain it to you, I always comment that code out,
Nice.
so
Yeah.
that you can always refer those code back. I will commit this whole file on GitHub. You can always refer it back, but you know which line I'm talking about and which code, which is the command, which is the code, because this, you can understand, this is English, right?
Yeah.
And this is the code for that.
Yeah.
And so that everything is clear on the output. Otherwise, it keep on printing those lines.
Yes.
Now the last rule is case sensitive. This is very important. I might be.
Yeah, I think this is right.
Yeah, I mean, this is something which, if you have worked on other programming languages, you must have seen case sensitivity everywhere.
Oh yeah, because in my Kali Linux, the case sensitive is case sensitive.
Yeah. Case sensitive is there in the programming languages, and
Yeah.
it's also in the Python. So you can
Yeah.
understand if I say f is equal to ABC and f is equal to ABC. Those are
They
two
are
different
different.
things.
Yeah, they are different.
They're different things. So fvar and fvar, they are different. So that's something which is a takeaway from variable side. Otherwise, sometimes you feel like I'm assigning something to the right thing, but the casing is different, and it becomes very complicated for variable like this. So first name and first name. Look at this. Even though the whole case seems right, but there's an n in capital, right? And there's n small. So these are two different variables. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I
But
get it.
even if single case is in capital somewhere between, so if your eyes misses them out, then you'll start using a wrong variable deep down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why this becomes a very important, a consideration when you're working with variables, because those are going to print two different things,
Yeah.
and those are not same.
Yeah. They are different.
They're
Totally
different.
different.
Totally
Yeah.
different. Yes. So that's like the 5th rule, and that's enough. Like, if you know these 5 rules, then you will eventually never, work around at a very bad variable name.
Yeah.
Those 5 rules are enough to understand how variable naming convention works.
Yeah.
Right? So that was the naming and using variables. Now let's look at some errors. We already saw something breaking apart. Let's go and understand one basic error, which is name error. Throughout this course, you'll see a lot of errors. And
Yeah.
when you start getting comfortable with Python, you will eventually understand what that error is trying to say. So first of all, we'll look at name errors. And it's like every time I see name error, I eventually know what that error is trying to say, even reading the statement. I'll tell you how. So that's a variable message. I'll say hello world again, and I'll print it. Right? That's working perfectly. But what if I missed a S? You can
Oh,
imagine this is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've named a variable message and I'm missing a S now here. And Python obviously will understand that you are missing something out. So it won't run. It'll definitely give me an error. So when I run this, the whole thing's break. Now let's go through this error, line by line. So as soon as Python, imagine if you are the interpreter, you're running this code, right? Imagine from that direction. You come to my line 1, you saw, oh, comment. I want run this, I want run this. Now I'm at line 43. Okay. I see this message, I see the string, I assign this string into this variable. Oh, this is a valid variable name. Correct. Now I go to line 44. Now you say I want to print this. Now I have never seen this, right? I have
Yeah.
never seen something called MESAGE. So I will definitely break here.
Yeah.
So that's what the Python does. It goes to this line. You see there's a line 44. It mentions that line 44, I saw this line print message and that's a name error. That's where the name error
Yeah.
comes in. So I'll copy and paste it to you so that you better understand it. Why, and clearly see the message is saying exactly what the Python interpreter might have understood. That this
Yeah.
name message is never defined. You've never used it anywhere. So that's why this is what the name error is.
Yeah.
You're using a variable which was never defined on top. You can't really use a variable without actually defining it.
Yeah.
So in order to solve this error, either you change this into message, this will work, or either you correct your message, right?
Yeah.
That is the only way. So variable has to be defined before use. That's like the way you avoid these name errors. Variables has to be defined before using them, right?
Yeah.
If you want, you can note it down. That's perfectly fine. Otherwise, you can always refer back to this Python file.
Yeah.
As I keep on going, via topics, I'll keep on adding my comments here. So they can look back the code and look at the thing.
Yeah.
That's how you can avoid those name errors. And that's pretty straightforward. As soon as you see a message, you'll eventually understand that it clearly mentions that you are using something which is not defined.
Yeah.
So that's the name errors. And it like this is the first thing that you saw. The one thing I want to emphasize here is you see something called, when I run this, oh, let me break it. You see something called traceback, right?
Yeah.
And this is something which you will see like very often, especially when the code is breaking, but sometimes you won't see it. So the
Oh,
idea of,
okay.
yes, idea of traceback is the way how the interpreter works. It goes through this line and then it gives back me the trace that at this particular file, at this particular line, I am not able to understand this. So that's a traceback. I'm giving you I'm giving you back a feedback that I am breaking a particular line. Now let me show you where this traceback is not shown. A line where traceback is, this is something where traceback is shown, right?
Yeah.
You saw a traceback. But let me show you a line where traceback is not shown. And then I'll tell you a basic difference between errors. So let me create a new code, message hello world. And this time what I did is I write print and message. Let me try this if it works. I comment it. Now you see, you don't see a traceback now, right? But
Yeah, I don't see that.
something is a problem. Some problem is happening at line 52, but there's no
Yeah.
traceback. So that is a syntax error. So what happens at this line is when a Python is interpreting this whole code, the code looks perfect to it. So syntax wise, the code is not correct, not wrong here. Look at the syntax. Have I made any syntactical error?
No.
I haven't,
No.
all right?
Yeah.
Because it's perfectly fine for Python to have message and message. This is not a problem with syntax.
Yeah.
But at this particular line, I've made a syntax error.
Yeah.
So the code is never executed. So if code is never executed, there's no traceback because the code was never executed here. You can understand why, because Python, as soon as interpreter is reading that file, it realizes, oh, you made a syntax error.
Yeah.
If you made a syntax error, then how can I run your code? And if I'm not running your code, there's no traceback. So the output here is just breaks at particular 52 line with a syntax error.
Yeah. I get it.
So that's the idea of traceback. Traceback only comes when there's no syntax error. There are some kind of, you can say, logical errors. Error which happened at runtime. That's where the traceback happens. So error which happened at runtime. Right? This is something which is a very neat difference in the traceback format, and that's where that's how the Python works. That's why I keep on emphasizing on the fact that Python is an interpreter, not a compiler. It interprets the code, it realizes and then breaks, or it either runs then it breaks. So there's no compilation. Compilation is happening from the perspective that it's converting code into C before running it. But yes, it's going through line by line. That's like if something goes line by line, it's not a compiler.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. So that's the thing about these name errors. Now see, after this, I will have like 2 exercises for you. So all these concepts that I've showed you here, those exercises are pretty practical. So I'll show you those exercises. So in your, again, in your GitHub, you can realize where you can find those exercises now. In the basics one, we're talking about this. And in this, you will be talking about variable exercises.
Yeah.
Right? So it's pretty neat. It's like if you read, you'll understand what I'm trying to say here. You write a separate program to accomplish these exercises. So I wanted to save each program with a file name of Python convention using lowercase letter underscore like this, simple message and simple messages. And then you store a message in variable and print that message in your first exercise. Then you, in the second, you store a message variable, printed message, and you do something about it. So what I mean by this exercises is these are like one line of code, hardly.
Yeah.
All the exercises are like one line of code. So if you see like, oh, I have to do like 30 exercises, don't worry. Because those 30 exercises will be just one line of code.
Yeah.
All you have to do is understand that what that one line of code is doing.
Yeah.
So that's the whole idea. So even though exercises are very like too much 9, 10, but it'll be very easy to crack because it'll be just one line of code.
Yeah.
So that's how you're gonna go with exercises. So every time I cover any topic, I have few exercises. You can just try it on it, and it will cover those topics that I'm trying to say right now. Both of these exercises will cover what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
With variable names. This is something you can try it out after the after a lecture. But as soon as you do it, just mark it so that I know that you're able to do it. If you're stuck anywhere, you can always comment.
Okay.
Okay, so that it'll be I'll reply back and I can help you out in that way. And if like we are super stuck and you're not able to understand anything, then definitely when we're meeting again, we will have like 5-10 minutes, first 5-10 minutes looking at these exercises.
Yeah.
Then I can help you out how to solve it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the variable exercise. Now let's go to strings. Let's now look at this hello world double quotes in more details.
Yeah.
So we now, you now know how to create variables.
Yeah.
Now let's look at some methods. So in the strings, let me work on a new file so that it'll be easy for you to play around. I'll call it 01, and I'll just create a new file for the strings. I'll say 02 strings. Okay, so that's the new topic. You'll see a new file. It'll be easy for you to go around. So let's talk about strings now.
Yeah.
So in the strings, the first thing is the case in string and method. So basically what I'm trying to say here is you can define strings in a multiple way. So let's see how you define strings. So one way you already saw that message is equal to double quotes. That's one way of defining string. And you say hello world, right?
Yeah.
There's also one other way to define string. So that's like double quotes. And you can also say message is equal to single quotes. That's how you can also like define a string. So it's the same thing. If I say hello world, it will produce me like the same output.
Yeah.
So that's like two ways of defining string. That's the only two way that you'll get in Python. They will all both produce the same output. Now, the good thing about this double quote and single quote, it helps you to put like mix and match these quotes together. So what I mean by that is I can say message is equal to maybe my friend's name. You see, I am putting a single quote inside a double quote. Like this is possible. You get what I'm trying to say? There's sometimes you have double quotes inside a string. You have sometimes you have single quote inside a string, right? That's possible.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a single quote inside a string, you can always put it around double quotes.
Yeah.
And whenever you have like a double quotes, that you can have a statement like he said, and then you can have a like a quote, my friend, right?
Yeah.
Now this string is very weird because you have double quotes inside a string.
Yeah.
So you can always wrap it inside a single quote.
Oh.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because Python provides post support, so you can always wrap a single quote inside double quote. And there is double quote inside a string, you can always wrap it inside a single quote.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the string will break. Otherwise, like if I start using a double quote now, so that's a double quote inside double quote. You see, this color is weird now.
Yeah.
And this line will break definitely because it says that I don't understand this double quote. So the neat way to avoid this is to use a single quote whenever I have a double quote. And whenever I have a double quote, I can use a single quote inside. That's like vice versa. That is like a takeaway of how you define a single double string. In the next parts, I will definitely break strings, so you will understand it more in a much better way. But that's like the thing to it's kind of trick. You can take it as a trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a way of defining strings. There's no other way as such to define a string. We always go by this approach. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Next, I'll mark it like this. It'll be more easier for you. Next, I want to talk about some methods, string methods. So like maybe changing case in a string. So what I mean by that is, so let me just write a name. Name is equal to A-Day Lovelace, some name, okay? That's the name of a person. Now, if I print it, so it'll be exactly same, right? Because I'm not doing anything. Now, this is a string. So everything inside Python is an object. So everything. So you can see this name is a variable, right? So this is a very strong concept. Try to focus on my words. That whenever I say everything is in Python's object, so whenever I'm assigning a string to this variable, this is now an object.
Yeah.
So that means I can show you what kind of object this is. I'll say print, and there's a function called type. And in type, I can pass any variable that I want to see what kind of this object this is. So if I print it out, you'll see this is of a class string.
Yeah.
So every time even you'll saying like I'm just assigning a string. Even that small operation, any kind of variable you're assigning, it'll always be an object inside Python. And we'll look like very deeper side of this when we go to these classes. Because this is a class, as you can see, class string. But I'm just trying to make you understand that why all those coming functions gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay. So this operation, I created this variable. This is the object now of this class.
Yeah.
So this is the string class object. So imagine if I say a number 12. So this is just a number, right? You'll say it's just a number, but this is also an object. So I'll show you. So if I put inside type and pass num, this is our class int. You see?
Yeah.
There's an integer class which supports number. So that's what I'm trying to convey here is everything, any variable you assign, even if it's like a very numerical string or anything, it will be an object. So this is of the class string. And this was of the class, int. Are you understanding my point, what I'm trying to convey here?
Yeah.
that even a single small variable that you create, it will be of some kind of object.
Yeah.
And now because it's an object, so I will have few functionalities. It will have these functionalities with it. So
Yeah.
like, have you gone through, do you know about this OOPS concept, object oriented concepts?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
Yeah.
So how that OOP concept works is it has this concept of classes, objects, and properties.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything inside, like look around you, you see a car. So
Yeah.
that car is a class. It's an entity for the OOPS world, the object oriented world. So this car will have properties, like it could have properties, steering wheel, wheels. You know, these are called properties. And what are the methods of car? Car's method could be that, accelerate, brake. These are the method, right? When I run a car, I put accelerator, then it fires a method, to speed up. When I
Yes.
put on brake, it fires a method to lower down. Those are all the methods that a car has. So car at in a whole picture is a complete entity. It's a kind of a class for OOPS.
Yeah.
For us, we take car as a class, and every time a new object, like maybe you can say car, like Hyundai cars. So a object of that class will be one car that I designed for Hyundai. So that object will have all the properties. It will have accelerator, brake, all those methods. It will have its corresponding color name, car name, car number plate. Those are its properties,
Yeah.
and the functions are its methods, right? So
Yeah.
similarly, you can think of this class as one entity. It has few properties and few methods. And I'll be hitting some of the method of this class now to get to make some changes. So to get the list of all the methods in a class, there's a function which is called dir, like you have ls in Linux,
Yeah.
right? So that similarity we have dir. So you can see that now you know that this name and num is an object of a class. On what are the classes? The string class and int class, right? So
Yeah.
let's see what are the methods this class support, a string class. So I can write that by using the dir function and passing inside the name, the object, right?
Yeah.
When I run this, you see a whole huge list. So this class supports, like this class has so many methods, and some methods are underscore. You see underscore underscore. So
Yeah.
these are the methods which you shouldn't be calling from outside. You shouldn't be using from outside. So I shouldn't be using these function anyway, because those are like specific to my operation. You can say the wiring method, the ignition of the car. I don't want to use it from outside. Like I just want to start the car and it should work. So the ignition method shouldn't be really accessible to me. But what I want is a way to start the car. So you can think of these as a private methods. These are methods which shouldn't be called from outside. I
Yeah.
just want to accelerate. I don't want any kind of thing to deal with kind of moving of the car. I just want to accelerate. I just want that method. So those are public methods and some are private methods. These are like basic concepts of OOP, and you'll keep. I'll dig them more when we go to the classes side. But right now I'm just giving you a kind of sneak peek of how things are working at backend. Are you like understanding till now, or do you have any kind of doubt?
I think I understand that.
You understand what I'm trying to say is that this
Yeah.
this thing will have something within around it that I can use to play around.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I can use to play around.
Yeah.
Now you'll see inside this there's so many methods. I will use one method which is called title. I want to change title. I want to make this name, the first letter, Ada and Lovelace, capital. Because you see the first name of first letter of every name is capital, right?
Yeah.
That's a title, Abhinav Sharma, A capital, S capital. So I don't want to do that manually. I want some helper somewhere. And because this is an object and these are the methods it provides, I can use it. Now let me just use it so that it'll be clear what I'm trying to say till now. I'll say name dot. That is the way you access the methods of the class. Dot title, and that's it. Now you'll see this name converted. You see it becomes L capital, A capital. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say till now? Why I want to talk about methods? You understand how
I
it
think.
works?
Yeah. I think so.
Because this guy is an object. of a particular class, and it has some methods inside it. And
Yeah.
if I want to access those methods, I always can access it via dot. Now you see a difference here. If I say name dot, then I'm basically accessing the method of that object. But if I say like this title name, this is different now. You see what I'm trying to say? That
Yeah.
I'm passing to this function, I'm passing something, and it will break. This line will break.
Yeah.
There's no title defined, no function defined anywhere called title. So whenever I want to access properties of an object, I have to use dot. But if that function is not available inside me, I want to use something from outside. Like, look at this print. This is accessible outside, right? This is definitely not a property. This is just pure function,
Yeah.
right? It's not attached with anything. I just pass something, it prints out. But if I want to use property of a particular object, then I have to use dot, name dot title. You understand the difference between this and that? That's very like a clean difference.
Yeah, I
That
understand.
using a dot and not using a dot, there's a difference between those functions.
Yeah.
And not everything is available inside. So I can't really say name dot xyz. It will break. It will clearly say the str object. Remember, this name is a string of object.
Yeah.
Has no attribute xyz. Obviously not. I showed you the whole list. There was no such thing as xyz, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way to add that from outside. So I can't.
Yeah.
It's like you saying from riding a car and saying I want to paint this to red color. You don't have that attribute, right? There's no functionality to paint red directly by clicking a button. So that's the same. So every real world scenario, every real world object can be mapped to a OOPS
Yeah.
concept. So that's the idea of OOPS, object-oriented programming.
Yeah.
So every real world entity you see outside, bottle, car, anything, it has those properties. It has methods, it has properties, and it can be mapped to a machine via OOPS. That's a concept. That's how we work around with entities inside a language. You go to any language, Java, Python, C#, anything, you will always find concept of OOPS. You must have seen classes everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like classes everywhere. So why classes everywhere? Because everybody uses that OOPS concept.
Oh, okay. I finally understand that.
Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say? Every language use a OOPS concept, and that's basically just a way to mimic the real world outside. You think about LAMP. LAMP has these properties. It has on and off properties, right? Those are methods of LAMP. What are the properties? It could be black color.
Yeah.
So the combining properties and methods, I can create a class.
Yeah.
And that's just it. That's what class is. It's mimicking a real world entity. And when we go to this classes part, we'll be making those real world entities using Python. We'll be adding those classes, our own classes. Right now we're using predefined string class. We'll be adding our own class then. So that'll be very interesting to see. And now then you can easily match your understanding with string and int, how these guys might be working. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the idea of using methods. So that's why name.title is going to work, because somewhere down the line, this guy has some kind of implementation which converts this first letter into capital, first letter of every name to capital. So that's the title method.
Yeah.
You got how it's going to work?
Yeah.
Great. So that's how I can change the string. And similarly, if I again show you the list, there's some other methods also. There's something called upper.
Oh,
you can imagine this
what
can
does
convert.
it do?
It can convert the string to uppercase.
Okay.
Similarly,
yeah,
it has.
Try.
Yeah, I'll show you. So it has so lower. So convert things to lowercase. So just that. Now you know how to access these functions, right? So you'll do something like this: name dot upper. And see the whole thing is in uppercase now.
Yeah.
Now you can similarly print name dot lower. What I'm trying to
show. So it becomes lowercase.
So this whole thing becomes lowercase.
Okay.
What I'm trying to show you here is that I can only access these functions if the object provides me.
Yeah.
If something is not here, then it will show me those attribute error exception. Remember, it just showed me right now for XYZ.
Yeah.
It will still show me. So only thing, if you want to access something via dot, that's like the way of accessing those methods. It has to present inside the object. So that method has to be inside my class. It's same as saying that color example I told you about car. I can't really call those function call methods if that car doesn't support it. If my car is automatic, I can't change the gear, right?
Yeah.
There's no way I can change the gear. That's exactly how Python works with oops. If you don't give me method, if you don't have the method, you can't really call it, right? Those were the
Yeah.
lowercase and uppercase methods. And there's so
Yeah.
many methods we'll be looking depending upon the application that we go with the projects. We'll be looking these methods whenever we need them. So depending upon when you want to go with lowercase, uppercase, we'll be using these methods. Okay, if you get the concepts of methods.
Yeah.
Are you able to like get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Cool. So that means we can move to the next part. The next part is concatenating strings. So I'm taking a little bit more time so that you understand the whole concept completely. This is
Yeah.
something that I might have missed out, but I want you to understand that why this dot is working.
Yeah.
Like code, you can always code whenever you want to code. You can just go out there, copy paste and run the code. But if you don't understand the conceptual, understanding behind it, if you don't have that,
Yeah.
it'll be difficult for you to understand why this thing is working. And
Yeah.
that should be your prime concern throughout this course. If you don't understand anything conceptually, you should always ask me.
Yeah, I will.
Because coding is very easy. Coding something, I can give you the code, you can run it, right? But
Yeah,
what's the point if you don't understand the concept behind it?
yeah, so you have to understand everything before you run the code.
Yeah,
That's the only
exactly.
better.
You have to. That's the thing. Why I'm using dot here? Why I can't, just write it like this?
It will crash.
It'll crash. Exactly. Because
Yeah.
now you know the reason why it will crash. It's not a function. It's something
Yeah.
of a property here. I can't
Yeah.
pass it like a function. So it will crash.
Yeah.
That's the conceptual understanding you need to have with Python.
Yeah.
So that before even writing that code, you will understand, oh, it's going to break.
Yeah.
That's a level of proficiency you should be looking for. I know this,
Yeah.
it's gonna break before
Yeah.
even running it.
Yeah.
Great then. So now let's look at concatenating strings. Concat strings. Basically what I mean by this is I have first name. So now I'll just comment this out because otherwise these guys will still be running.
Yeah.
You see why I'm keep on commenting so that the output looks clear.
Clear. Yeah.
So my first name is, I use the same example, Ada, and my last name is just this Lovelace. And now I have two different name and two different variables.
Yeah.
Now I want to show them together. So it's very easy if I just create a new variable and see how I'm using this underscore as a way to distinguish between space.
Yeah.
I could have written like first name, right?
Yeah, but
But
that,
it's
that
more
one.
descriptive.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Now you understand exactly why I'm saying it's first name. If I write it like this, it becomes little bit bad. Python
Yeah.
won't break. Python, it's completely fine for Python. Python
But
doesn't really care about your code.
like people won't be understand this so
Yeah, exactly.
clearly.
That's why the names should be descriptive.
Yeah.
And shouldn't be like this first name of my first variable, which is
Oh, this is too long.
so nice. What's the point? This is wrong. This is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Even though the code will still run fine. But that's why Python says as a, write your variable name to be short and descriptive.
Yeah.
That's very important. If you write like this, if I'm reading a word, I'll be very pissed.
Yeah.
What's the point of writing my first variable, which is so nice? Right?
Yeah,
You understand
no
what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, there's no reason to write it like this.
Exactly. There's no need. Just first name is enough for me to understand that this is the first name of first name variable.
Yes.
Now I want to use them together. So I'll write first name, and it's very easy. I'll just want to concat them, right? It's just plus operation plus last name, and that's it. What Python gonna do is it takes the first name, it takes the last name, add them. Here the add operation is not summation.
Yeah.
I'm not adding anything. And how Python knows that, I'll show you that, because this thing is an object of string.
Yeah.
And Python knows that you are trying to add two strings. Obviously, I can't sum them via numerical operation, right?
Yeah.
That means you want a concatenation.
Yeah.
So that's how Python knows that this plus operation is now going to concat.
Yeah.
So if I print full name, I'll say Ada, Lovelace together.
Oh, they
but
won't separate.
yeah, but the thing is, there's no space in between, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have that because I'm not telling this him to have space.
Yeah.
So what I do is I put a space and then I concat that also. You see,
Oh.
that's a space. And now
Yeah.
if I run it, it will have that space. It's just that I'm
Yeah.
adding a new string now with a space.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I have space around it. It doesn't matter. It has
Oh,
to
so
be
it will
space.
work either way.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll definitely work.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
doesn't matter. It's just a way of writing clean code so that if I write like this, it becomes a little bit less tidy, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it more clean.
Yeah.
That's it. And the matter is if I have like more space here, 1, 2, 3, 4, it will have 4 spaces here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I see.
You see the 4 spaces, 4 spaces. So it's gonna mimic exactly how much space I put inside those double
Yeah.
quotes.
If you put a,
Single
a
quotes?
dot, if you put a dot inside, will it
Yeah,
become add
it will.
that dot enough?
Yeah, it will put
Yeah.
a dot in between my text.
Oh, okay. So
But
it will
that
work.
see, so that this dot is inside a string.
Yeah.
It won't break. It will still take as a character. But if I put dot outside like this, it will break. The code will break now.
Yeah.
Why? What is the point of dot and dot here? What are you trying to do? It won't get that, right?
Yeah.
But anything inside a string will work. And you can imagine I can use the single quotes here also, right?
Yeah.
I can replace this whole string by a single quote, still work.
Yeah.
So that's how I can put a space, and that's how the concatenation thing works. So now this is working
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
And now you can imagine I can even write like this, rather than creating a full name here. So like I can write something like this also inside print directly. Hello. And see, I put a space here so that there's a space between comma and next word.
Yeah.
And I can say full name. And because after concatenation, this is still a string object, right?
Yeah.
This is still string. So I have those properties with me yet. I can still call title,
Yeah.
right? And then I can say this. So hello, and see, automatically, even while running this inside print, it converts this into, A capital, L capital, and then prints it all out.
Oh,
So in one line, I've done a lot of code.
that's interesting.
And that's why Python is like Python codes are so less number of lines.
Yeah.
You'll always say people saying that my Python code is just 5 lines. My Python code is just 10 lines.
Yeah, I can't do everything in one line in Visual Basic that I done in school before.
Yeah, you can't exactly.
Yeah.
Python is not verbose. That's the thing. Python, I'll show you a lot of examples with like 7 lines of code. Then I'll convert those 7 lines to 1 line,
Yeah.
and it'll be difficult for you to think about it directly. But when you are more comfortable with Python, you'll start writing those kind of code, which is very.
Yeah.
So see, imagine there's no point of even creating a full name here. What I can do is I can even do this, right? First name plus last name.
Oh, that will work as well.
That'll work as well. More efficient code.
Yeah.
So that means I basically avoided these lines.
Yeah. So you got 3 lines in total.
Exactly. And that's it can work like that. And it can go even more extreme, like if I remove this also.
Also, you don't even need the first name and last name variable.
Exactly. That's what I did.
Yeah.
That's also
Yeah.
gone. But looking at this code directly, it looks a little bit complicated, right?
Yeah.
So that's a trade-off you have to figure out, that how complicated you have to write the code and how cleanly you have to write the code.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes when some problems is occurring in your code, it's very difficult. These kind of code are very difficult to debug. If something is going wrong, then it becomes a little bit complicated to fix.
Yeah.
But code like this is much more cleaner. So
Yeah.
that extent of support Python provide, it basically says that you can do it if you want, but this is still fine. This is like perfect. But not even creating those variables and directly using them looks a little bit bad.
Yeah.
So that's something you need to decide. But yes, Python support that. You can do that. You can remove all those lines and put everything in one line, and it can still work.
Yeah.
So that was the concatenation. And now let's a little bit talk about these white spaces, because it's something which, these white spaces we are here right now is something which bugs you a lot, especially when you are, working in a very big project. These
Yeah.
are the things which you might miss it out, and these create a lot of problem inside your code.
Yeah.
Let's look at those white spaces, because it's difficult to figure out, see, there's a white space or not. It's difficult to
Yeah.
actually see whether there's a space or not, how much space.
Yeah.
These guys are a little bit tricky to handle.
Yeah.
So let's see one thing. With this white spaces, we also see two new operators like this. So if I like Python, and if I write print t, you see, /t Python.
Oh.
So the output is different. You see Python, and you see there's a tab here.
Oh.
This is
Okay.
called tab.
Okay.
If I want to put tab, I can either do like this, that's a tab. But rather than actually putting a tab, it can still produce output like this. See,
Yeah.
exactly same. But this is not
Yeah.
clean. There's something like I'm not able to figure out if this is a tab or a space or what. But clearly mentioning it's a tab makes it more better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's how we represent a tab inside a string. Similarly, we can represent new line. So if I write Python, maybe better to /n Python. So you see this guy is on like after one line. This is like an enter. I put enter on my keyboard. Is similar to this. So this guy prints Python. This guy taps at Python, and when this guy before printing it takes a new line. Are you able to get this?
Yeah.
So that's basically the new line thing that's also there. So we have
Yeah.
white spaces. We can put white space inside string. We can put tab, and we can put new line.
Yeah.
And see, everything is working the way this should. And this can be like created in a very complicated statement like this. So languages /n Python /n C /n JavaScript. Can you guess what this line will print?
Uh,
Just try.
lang print language.
So this line will print this,
Yeah, and
then we'll
then
take an enter,
yeah.
then we'll print this, then we'll take an
Yeah.
enter again, then print C,
Yeah.
then take another enter, and then print
And then
JavaScript.
print JavaScript. Yeah.
So that's how it works. See, language,
Yeah.
then takes an enter, Python, then takes an enter, C, then takes an enter, JavaScript.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So that's new line and combination, and you can imagine I can merge it out also. So let's make it more complicated. Now there's a tab. So you can understand that here before after taking enter, it takes a tab with C.
Oh, so the C will become the.
The
Oh
C will
yeah.
become
That's what I
tabbed.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
that's why I'm trying to make you understand this concept via Python code only.
Yeah.
If I start reading a book or showing you those slides, it'll be very bad. There's
Yeah.
no point. You
True.
won't even understand those concepts. You can easily catch it by seeing the Python code. So
Yeah.
that's how I'll run the whole this course.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will be better.
Yeah, that'll be best. I even because I know how I've learned Python. I know it's from practical knowledge only.
Yeah, like it's better than looking at the slides.
It's definitely better.
Yeah.
I am going through each concept one by one, and I'm showing you just the right code for that concept. That's so much better than looking at those those technical slides.
Yeah.
Because you can see things live, and if you want me to try something out, I can try it in front of you also.
Yeah.
But you try that. So that's how you get more from the language.
Yes.
Okay. So that's new line and tab. So what I want to, so this is the basic idea of white spaces. So white spaces just doesn't mean having a space. It also means new line and tabs.
Yeah.
So that's the whole white space concept. And all these things is pretty irritating. Sometimes I want to remove everything. I want to remove these new line tabs. So that's the next thing that I want to stripping these white spaces. I don't want any white spaces around my text, right? So I can
Yeah.
remove that. So let me create a new line, new variable. Let's say my favorite language. Okay. And I say it's Python. And see, I have a space at the beginning. I have a space at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to strip them. So if I print it right now, oh, God, this. So if I print it right now, this is Python. There's a space in front, space at back.
Yeah.
And now I want to remove them. So again, I'll take a help of, because this is a still a string object, right?
Yeah.
And I'll keep on showing you these kind of this dir thing again and again, so that you believe me that I'm using this object, methods of these object.
Yeah.
So there's something called r strip,
LS strip. Oh,
l
it's R
strip,
strip.
and there's a strip somewhere also, complete strip, this strip.
Oh, okay.
So
Which one
see,
should we use?
so now you want to remove the left white space, you want to remove the right white space. So if I would have to use it, I will definitely go with strip.
Yeah.
It will remove both, but I'll show you both, like L strip, R
Yeah.
strip, and strip also. And I'll keep on
Yeah.
showing you this dir, because like knowing all these function by maybe you missed something out, you don't remember that function name,
Yeah.
but you can always do dir and get that name out.
Yeah.
That's like a neat trick to get it out, like the
Yeah.
function name from that
Yeah.
object.
Yeah.
So now let's use the L strip first. And exactly the calling is same like title, right? Because I have to
Yeah.
put dot, then to get that object, I have to,
Yeah.
and this function, this method doesn't take any kind of property, like any kind of
Yeah.
parameter.
Yeah.
So it's blank. So
Yes.
now if I do L strip, so see the left is gone.
Yeah.
Now right is still left. So let's do R strip. So if I do R strip, then right is gone, but left is still left.
Oh.
Because it just removes the right strip, right? It doesn't remove the left strip. It doesn't remove the left white space. Therefore, I was saying that if I would have used, I would have used strip. So that guy will remove both. You see, both is gone.
Oh. Yeah.
Left is gone, right is gone. So
So
there'll be a
you
better
so
thing.
you yeah, so you use strip.
So you use strip. But if your code is like this, if your thing is like this, you would just want to remove right, then
Yeah.
this will be extra effort, extra thing to
Yeah.
use. Because there's no left white space. There's always a right white space.
Yeah.
Then I'll go with right strip.
Yeah.
And using a left strip won't really help because there's no left white space.
Yeah. So it depends.
It depends on the kind of text you have,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. But you should always know that what functionalities you have to tackle those problems.
Yeah.
You have a left strip, right? So we can always see there's nobody stopping you to use strip, but it just if you sometimes you have to think code from the efficiency perspective. How efficient is your code? And using an extra left strip is useless.
Yeah.
So you should always go with something which is more efficient.
Yeah.
So that always there's a right space, there's no left. So why would you use left strip? It's like that.
Yeah. That's true.
Similarly, I can strip these white spaces like /n and /t. Because I told you these are also considered white spaces.
Yeah.
So if I do left strip, right strip, and strip, it will be produce same result. So you see, the first
Also,
was the tab. There was a new line and there was a tab, and in the last one everything is removed. You see, this is the last one strip.
yeah.
In the right strip, it just removes a tab. In the left strip, it just removes the enter.
Yes.
So the tab is still there.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about this? This is something which I had a problem with. I had no /n in the right, no /t at the left, no white space in the right, no was in the left. I have something in middle. What do you think? This strip will work or not?
I don't think it will work.
Exactly. You 100% right. It won't. And that's the thing you
Yeah.
need to understand why of stripping. No matter what thing I use, it's like exactly same. See, nothing is changing at all.
Oh. Yeah.
It won't exactly, because stripping these white spaces can only happen left and right. If I start
Yeah.
removing from between also, then it might damage my way of working.
Yeah.
Maybe I want them, right? So in order to remove in order to remove these guys, I have to do something more, and we'll look at that later on also.
Yeah.
I can remove it, but it's not possible via strip. I have to do
Yeah.
something else,
Yeah.
which is something like a new method or something else, some new technique.
Yeah.
But you should always, as a takeaway, you should remember that I can't remove this in between and t.
Yeah, you
And
only
as soon
can
as I told
remove
you,
it.
as soon as you saw this, you realize that I can't remove this, right? That's
Yeah.
something that's the indication you're understanding the concept.
Yeah.
That's how you understand that. Oh, I can work on that. I can work on this. So that's how
Yeah.
you understand more about it.
Yeah.
That's the whole stripping white spaces. And see, all these concepts that I'm showing it to you, they are just one line Python code.
Yeah.
This whole thing, this part to list and everything, there'll be just 1 2 line of Python code, because
Yeah.
coding is not that much in Python. You write very
Yeah.
less amount of code to do a very lots of job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing that for you to look out is just the concept,
Yeah.
because writing code is just all these exercises that I'm showing you. They will just 1 line of code, 2 line of code max.
Yeah.
Writing that particular line of code is what the key is, and that's where
Yes.
the trick is. That's where this language become a little bit difficult, because you have to be very precise.
Yeah.
You need to know exactly that line, otherwise it won't work.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about stripping white spaces. Now let's move to the next thing. So we saw that stripping white spaces. Now let's look at a little bit about syntax errors, which can easily happen in strings. So let's look at syntax errors. So I can easily create a syntax error in front of you by
Yeah.
mixing double quotes and single quotes. So let's do that. Let's create a message. One of Python, like a good message. Python's strength is its diverse community. Normal English message. If I
Yeah.
print it, you can see there's no issue at all, right?
Yeah.
But if I do this, there's definitely something wrong going on. You know why? Can you
Why?
guess? Can you guess why?
Um, I'm not sure.
Because see, there's a single quote here in between.
Oh, so that's why you can't use two
Yeah,
because you
that's
have
why.
three.
That's
Yeah.
why from the beginning I used double quote only, because I knew there'd be Python's strength kind of thing in between.
Oh, so yeah, you can't have three the same because you have to
Yeah,
have yeah.
yeah. So that's the thing you need to watch out for. So like, if as soon as I write this, your ID, even Genie will definitely do something like this for you.
Yeah.
It'll start showing you some sign that, oh, you are doing something wrong here. And
Yeah.
this you see, there's some weird pink color and these guys are
Yeah.
changing. So there's a hint there's something wrong going on, but you can, if you run this, you will see a syntax error, and
Yeah.
exactly points it out to that Python's,
Yes.
because it's this having this code, and this code is correct. What
Yeah.
the problem is, this code.
Yeah.
Python reads it, sees like, oh, I see a code, then after that, what is this nonsense?
Yeah. If you have this one, then this
You
is
use,
outside the.
yeah, you use double quotes.
Yeah.
That's like but the thing I want to show you is, you can clearly see no a trace back here,
Yeah.
because this is not a logical error, it's syntax error.
Yeah.
So Python never executed your code, because obviously it can't. Your code is wrong syntax wise. If your code is wrong syntax wise, how can I even execute it?
Yeah.
So that's why there's no trace back. So that means code was never executed.
Yeah.
So I have to, in order to correct this, I'll just put it out. So you saw a name error before, now you are seeing syntax error.
Yeah.
And you'll keep on seeing more kind of error classes. These are error
Yeah.
classes. We'll look at that more. But right now, you'll keep on seeing these kind of classes more often.
Yeah.
So now to correct this, I'll just put either double quote.
And then it works.
It'll work perfectly, because
Yeah.
now I'm putting the single quote inside double quote.
Yeah.
And there's some other way to fix this also, but which is not clean. So I can do that also. So what I can do is, I'll just escape it. You see what I did? I
Yeah.
put a slash and I escape it. This is called
Yeah.
escaping.
Yeah.
But my experience and the world out there, they have never used it.
Yeah, because it doesn't look clean.
Exactly. And second, it's so nice to just put double quotes around it. Like, why would I make
Yeah.
my life so complicated, right?
Yeah, there's no purpose. You have no purpose to use that thing.
Yeah, but it does give a support of that, so you can
Yeah.
do something like that and still work. See, it's working perfectly.
Yeah, but it doesn't look clean anymore.
It doesn't look clean, one, and imagine you having like a very long text with so many quotes. You have to do everything again and again.
Yeah, you have
Like,
to
do for everyone, right?
Yeah.
It looks so complicated and so bad. So
Yeah.
even for you, you'll know that you will never use it, but I'm just telling you that there's a way
Yeah. Okay.
to skip it out. but
Yeah.
I have never used it. I don't think you will also never use it.
Yeah.
There's no point using it or something like that.
Yeah.
But you should always know there are some kind of thing which can be skipped. So
Yeah.
having dollar and all this statement works fine, but sometimes what happens is you have some character which is not string, which is
Yeah.
some weird like emoji.
Yeah.
Emoji is not a string.
Yeah.
So if
Emoji is not.
emoji is coming inside a string, so you might have to escape some characters like this.
Yeah.
So that at that time escaping becomes very important because even codes can't handle it.
Yeah.
But like for the codes, it's perfectly fine. It's gonna work exactly the way it should.
Yeah.
So that was the syntax error. So you have seen two errors, syntax error and name errors, and we'll
Yeah.
be looking a lot as we keep on going.
Yeah.
So now you know that if syntax error is happening, then I must have written a very bad, somewhere did a very bad mistake. If name
Yeah.
error is happening, I'm using something that was not defined by me.
Yeah.
That's like the basic idea of these two errors.
Yes.
Okay. Now I have like 5 exercises for you to work around with
Yeah.
strings. And those are again one lines of code.
Yeah.
So you see, I wanted to create a file name cases.py and go through this personal message, name casing, famous quote, write a code so that you understand the concept of single quote, double quote.
Yeah. I have a question. Do I have
Yeah.
to do all the exercise in one file or separate the file?
Yeah. So that's all up to you.
Yeah.
Whichever you want, even if you want to do in one go, because I want you to look back at that Python file
Yeah.
so that you are able to get the concept clearly. You want to make a comment out there about that concept. It's all up to you. But
Yeah.
I am giving you a suggestion to write this inside this Python file or to write
Yeah.
this inside name cases Python file. You can
Yeah.
use your own name.
Yeah.
It's all up to you.
Okay.
It just what matters is to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And if you're able to like, if you did it on a file or some code, you can always share that as a comment here that I did this. This is the code, and I can
Yeah.
always give you a comment on that. Maybe you can improve it like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is also possible. Like if you want a feedback, you can just always post it here.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you want to have a discussion on like when we meet again, then you can just wait it out. When we meet next time, I'll definitely going to ask you about exercises when we meet next time.
Okay.
That's how it's going to work. I'll come on a call, and before starting anything, I'll ask you about those exercises. If you face
Yeah.
some error, you face some issue, and if something is not, you're not able to understand something, then we can go through that topic again.
Yeah. No problem.
That's how these exercises are designed. But it's like every exercise you might look, oh, this is 9 exercises. That's not how you should take it. It's hardly one line of code.
Yeah.
You
I
start
know. Right?
working on, see, you have seen me like doing this session for more than 1 hour. I'm doing
Yeah.
just one line for every topic.
Yeah. Every topic is just one line, so I don't think it's too hard.
Yeah, it's not hard, it's not time
Yeah.
consuming, but it is
Yeah.
something to understand. That's why the whole thing here, that you have to read it very carefully.
Yeah.
That's where the catch is. You have to read what I'm trying to ask you, that you do this, so you have to read it very
Yeah.
carefully, but the answer is just one line. And as we keep on going through the course, you will start seeing more lines to solve the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, because as soon as you grab, and when we reach to projects, you'll see like huge lines of code.
Oh, yeah, a lot of lines.
Obviously,
So
a
that's
lot of
pretty
lines,
good.
because everything will start, because right now I'm just showing you a string message, but for this Alien Invasion game to work, I have to build a lot of components.
Yeah.
I have to build classes, I have to build functions, but that's where the whole basics part connect together, right? If you're not able to use those concepts to build something, there's no point learning them.
Yeah,
So
true.
that's why I want to emphasize on these projects thing, that these are the thing where there's a actual I'm implementing everything, and you're able to grab that because you understood that concept.
Yeah.
So that's where the fun begins, the project part. But right
Yeah.
now you have to go through these small tiny examples so that you can
Yeah.
actually able to crack that project thing.
Yeah. Okay.
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 Great then. So these are the 5 exercises. You should try it out, and when you're
Yeah, I
done,
will
just
try it out.
click on tick so that I know that
Yeah.
you're able to do it.
Yeah,
And
sure.
if you're able to complete this whole thing, you can just share your code if you want some kind of clarification. Otherwise, when you write that code, you'll be pretty sure that this is correct.
Okay.
You'll be pretty sure. If you have some kind of doubt, then you can always post that. Just put the exercise name 1415 so
Yeah.
that I know what exercise you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just put your clarification down. I can reply.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
That's how we can convey without actually going to a call.
Yeah.
And I can give you instant feedback, and then you can move on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I really like this GitHub thing. So like I used to because you are new to this, so when you start working on it, you realize this is really nice way to go through the whole project.
Yeah.
You can have issues, you can have trackers, And I also have this something called like projects. So what I've
Yeah.
done is I made it multiple parts. So every time, so right now we on to do. So every time you do something and close this issue, it automatically goes to done.
Okay.
It's like I can drag it down to done. So right now it's in progress. As soon as you done that issue, it goes to done part.
Okay.
So it's like I'm tracking the whole codes also via this GitHub.
Yeah.
So I've used it like very, as you also use it and you'll really like it because it's one is free and second it's very neat.
Yeah, I also have the student package for it.
Yeah. So I was exploring that, but then I realized that GitHub, because I going to anyhow push all the code here, right? We are working
Yeah.
with code, so why not use that kind of thing which actually supports coding?
Yeah.
So this is like a whole framework which supports whole Python coding and all.
Yeah.
So it'll be easy for you to track issues, and I can always push my code. So whatever I'm writing here, you saw all these files, this will all be available here for you
Okay.
to look back those codes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So that way everything is in one place. You have all the exercises in one place, all the codes, and like you can save it out after the course is over, so that you can always look back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
great. So those were the 5 exercises I was talking about, and yeah, string exercises. Now let's move to numbers. So whatever you have seen right now, till now, as whatever you've seen, you have always seen string. I just showed you one number to specify the type int, but we haven't worked with the numbers yet, right?
yeah.
Before going into that, I want to show you something. I'll keep on popping it out in between. That what's the difference between Python 2 and Python 3.
Yeah.
So remember I told you about the print statement. I'm going
Yeah.
to just mention it again. So the Python 2 will have this print.
Oh, so yeah, they're different.
Yeah, the different, right?
Yeah.
I will always emphasize whenever there's a big change between 2 and 3,
Yeah.
like this. But this is something you need to know, grab, like understand conceptually, that there is a big difference between the two languages.
Yeah.
You don't need to remember, because I don't think nobody is going to work on Python 2 anymore. Nobody works.
Yeah.
All the new
Yeah.
projects are like on Python 3.
Yeah.
But if you see some kind of error that somebody's writing, maybe you want to explore some project out there on GitHub, and that project is on Python 2, and you'll see something like this, and you start running on your Python 3 code, everything will start breaking. You know what I'm trying to say? That if you
Yes.
run that Python 3 file using the Python 2 compiler, or Python 2 file using Python 3 compiler, it'll start breaking.
Yeah.
So you need to really understand this conceptually, that there is a big difference. I just showed you print. I'll show you like more examples as we keep on moving throughout the course.
No problem.
I'll show you one more right now. So let's first look at the numbers. So the first number that we'll look at is, it's a good idea if I'll just create a new, I'll just change it to, variables. It'll be more easy for you to grab them. Now let's create a new file, and I'll save it as numbers. You see what I'm trying to do is I'm just creating these for these a new Python file. So nothing is like in one Python file.
Yeah.
It'll be meshed then too much. So let's look at numbers now. So you have whatever you have seen till now is just string. We haven't really gone through those numbers. So let's do some kind of manipulation of numbers.
Yeah.
So like all those basic math works fine with numbers in Python basically. So I can do 2 plus 3, right?
5.
I can do 2 minus 3. That's like decent thing. It works fine.
Yeah.
And you can imagine it should, right? I mean, like that'll be very weird if I have to implement these divisions and multiplication by myself.
Yeah, because these are basic maths.
These are basic, like this has to work.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. If you're saying you're a language and you're not giving me these operations, then what kind of language are you?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely these kind of basic math works. But something that's different is what if you want to do 3 to the power 2? So the power. So that is also possible here.
Yeah,
so what you can do is, yeah, so if you have like gone through different languages, they generally support this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Python doesn't really support that.
Yeah.
You see, something came up, but I don't know what. I don't know how this calculated. So this is some kind of operation which is doing something else, but I want a power thing. So I have to do this.
Oh,
Star.
do 2 times.
2 times star.
Yeah.
So now it becomes 9. 3 to the
Yeah.
power 2, 9. That's the power. So that's how the difference is in the power thing. And next is definitely that, precedence, the basic math precedence order. Remember? So if I say 2 plus 3 into 4, so that means multiplication is going to happen first, then the
Yeah.
addition.
I learned the BODMAS. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly the precedence order I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think it's multiplication division is at a war here. So it's like it could also be this. It could also be this.
Yeah.
It could also addition, could also be addition, subtraction.
Yeah.
But whenever you're confused about this, always use bracket.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to be 100% sure about your addition, subtraction, always use bracket,
Yeah.
because bracket has the highest precedence. So like for this thing only, I'll use 2 plus 3, I'll use a bracket, and then I multiply with 4. So I'm pretty sure what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
So
They are
rather than
different.
leaving it on Python, you take control by putting
Yeah.
brackets.
Yeah.
So that in that case, you like 100%, you're pretty 100% sure that this is going to work like that.
Yeah.
So that's the precedence order. It works in Python. So these were the number that I was talking about. These are integers. You
Yeah.
see, there's no decimal here.
Yeah. The decimals are called floating point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for decimals, we have floats.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, wraps up entire Python. Like if you go to different languages, they have decimal, big decimal. Java, you have
They have a
floats.
lot.
Like they have different, different weird data types for different weird handling. In Python,
Yeah.
everything is just float and integer.
Yeah.
We don't have any other kind of weird classes.
Yeah.
If you know float, if you know integer, you know pretty much everything. That's
Yeah.
everything you can work around Python.
Yeah.
Let's look at some float. So float operation. Obviously, you can guess that this is going to work. Now these are just float operation, and I want to show you that specific thing, that this is num2, and let's call it num1. Let's call it num2, and this is 2.0, because we know a little bit about those types function now. So let's look at,
Yeah.
because you can imagine this is going to be an object.
Yeah.
Everything is an object. That's like
Yeah.
the thing about Python. So if I try to see the type here, and if I try to see the type of num2, this should come int. This should come something else, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
putting a 2.0.
Yeah.
So that's a decimal. And see, the class is float.
Yeah.
So using the type, you understand that if I have a type, if this is an object, that means it will have properties, right? So that
Yeah.
means this num2 will definitely have some kind of properties, and that's where you can get curious about things.
Yeah.
I have never looked float properties. I'm going to look it right now, and it's very weird.
Wow.
It's now conjugate from hex img. I don't know what. I've never used it. You will never, because string provides you some method which are very useful. But why would I use any kind of method of float or int?
Yeah.
But you can still look around. You can still poke around as to what is supporting this,
Oh.
kind of thing supporting
Yeah.
it. But what I'm trying to say is, even these, like a string, like integers, they are still objects here.
Yeah.
That's my emphasis that you should take. That
Yeah.
even a single operation like a 2 is still an object. So let's look at
Yeah.
some of the integer properties. You see, too many weird functions. I don't know why would I use. I've never used denominator,
Denominator.
conjugate, bit length, real.
Yeah.
I've never used them, but
Oh.
the thing is, it
Real.
is there for you. Maybe somewhere,
Yeah.
some people who are working on embedding systems or circuits might be using these methods.
Yeah.
But for us, we are just going to work on numbers, so we won't really use on these real bytes and kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they are objects.
Yeah.
Everything is an object in Python. Everything you assign, your number, string, it'll be object.
Yeah.
So that's something you need to understand and grab. So everything is an objects. Now, one thing that I want to show, which is very, let's say tricky and complicated. Let's not say complicated. It's like something which is very weird about Python. Let's say just it's weird. So I'll show you that.
Okay.
So that's like a weird part with numbers, and it is with every language. Somewhere down the line, some
Yeah.
language, behave like that. So let's add 0.2 plus 0.1. You see, it is 0.3. I know it's 0.3. You know it's 0.3. But Python does a small mistake at a very far decimal place.
Yeah.
It only happens with float. It
Yeah.
never happens with integer because integer doesn't have that kind of precision.
Yeah, because I used to use a CAS calculator and I put it into a settings called float 12 and it give me 12 decimal places.
Yeah, exactly. And all these systems, they use, I don't know how they're calculating somewhere down the line, but they are making a very tiny mistake. And that's something that you need to know when you're playing with floats. So sometime maybe, I don't know, you're doing a very trivial calculation or very critical calculation where you are 12th decimal is very important.
Yeah.
And in that case, you will get errors.
Yeah.
So that's something you need to understand, that float does this kind of problem. The float has this problem. So you can see that if I do print 3 into 0.1, it'll give me this a weird number again.
Yeah.
And it's just 0.3. Like, I know it's 0.3. Everybody knows 0.3. But it has this a limitation, or you can say a kind of thing that the language problem has, and nobody can fix it. So even if you go out there and start fixing it, you can't.
Yeah.
Are you understanding this?
Yes.
So this is something that you need to watch out for when working with floats. Otherwise, it's gonna work. Like, I have never been impacted with it because I never really cared about 12th decimal or something.
Yeah.
I would always like go for 2 or 3. So it works perfectly. But maybe you want to use 12th. Who knows? You should know that.
Yeah.
Oh my, as soon as I go to 12th decimal place, things will start getting weird for me.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then
when you're doing pi or some calculations, it will become weird. Because,
yeah, exactly. It will, especially like it goes very weird, especially if you start doing those calculations at a very deep level. But then
like
Python
if
doesn't
you
really.
use
Yeah.
like if you use pi or you use phi, the golden ratio, or it will become so weird.
Yeah, it becomes like people have reported, and there's no actual solution to this because it's a problem which occurs at RAM level, which is not actually what Python is doing. Python does calculation, it does a floating problem, happens with some kind of transistors. So it's very deep. It's beyond Python level. It happened at C level, and even C has this problem. So you can imagine Python will have the same problem.
Yeah, true.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So that was with the float. Now let's look at new kind of error called type error. We have seen name, we have seen syntax. Now let's look something called type error. And every error that Python has, pointing it out or showing it to you, there's a reason for that. All the error that you see, it will never be a problem of Python. Never.
Yeah.
It will always be your issue, and it's the way Python wants you to, like, tells you that you are doing some mistake.
Yeah.
That's how you should take those errors. So how will this type error occur? Imagine me writing at age 23. Let's comment this out. And I say message that string happy, age, I can concat it, right? Plus like 23rd birthday, right? And let's print this message. Now, because I have worked so much, so I know this is wrong. But if you think it conceptually, you will realize that what you're trying to say is add a string with an integer, right? That's an integer, that's a string. Python, how can Python do that? And like, how can anybody do that? Like, you can't really add an integer with a string, right?
Yeah, you can't.
You just can't. So that's what Python says. And that's a type error.
Yeah.
And it clearly says that I cannot concatenate string within that. What are you trying to do is wrong. And that's basically those type errors are. It basically happens with those string int types, like float type, int type, all those types that we are using.
Yes.
It is not a syntax error, definitely not. It's definitely not a name error because I'm using age correctly.
Yeah.
But I have some kind of type issue happening. That's a type error. And see, every error has its reason.
Yeah.
Every error that you're seeing, it has its own reason as to it wants you to write a correct Python code.
Yeah. So how do you fix that?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. I like you're curious. So obviously we can't convert it directly. So there is a way called boxing plus unboxing.
Yeah.
Or you can say type conversion. So how this works is I'll be going deeper to boxing unboxing soon as we
Yeah.
keep progressing the course.
Yeah.
But right now, just imagine I want to convert int into a string, and it's very easy. I just
Yeah.
write str and pass the int, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
You see what I did? I just said that convert this number into a string, and it's gonna work fine now.
Nice.
It just, and now concatenation can happen because this guy becomes a string.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what this str would have done. So let's show you a little bit deep. That if I took check a type of age, you could see that it's of int type, right?
Yeah.
But what if I check the type of after converting the age? Now it's of string type.
Yeah, it becomes a string.
Yeah, you get how why will this code now work?
Yeah.
Because that's why I want to show you this type. This type is really
Yeah.
important. It becomes more mature when you start understanding the classes.
Yeah.
But you need to understand why this type has error has occurred. Now, as soon as I convert into string, this becomes string. Now, this guy is also a string. This guy is also a string. I can
Yeah.
concat them.
Yeah.
So
So
I have what
basically, if there's a string, can you convert it into integer? I think yes.
definitely Bill, you,
Okay.
like you are asking the right question, which I'm very happy about. So let's say I like this.
Yeah.
Can I convert into integer?
I
I
think
obviously
yes.
can.
Yeah.
Obviously can. So
Yeah.
let's convert into it. So this time
In
I will
this.
use int
Yeah. Okay.
and pass age. It'll work.
Yeah.
But what if I have this? Can I convert it? No, no.
I don't think you can.
Obviously you can't.
Yeah.
So that's like a trivial thing that you can easily understand, but think from a Python perspective that language is not dumb. It's smart enough to know that you can do what you can do what you can't do. It knows that you can convert like a number inside a string to an int, but you can't convert a text inside a string into a number.
Yeah.
So that's the smartness the language provides. But obviously, when you are thinking writing that code, you also know that how this compiles going to work. So the how the people learn programming languages is we try to understand how Python, like the interpreter or the compiler, is going to work.
Yeah.
If you understand that how that guy is working, then you eventually understood the whole language.
Yeah.
If I understood that how it's going to go line by line and do the task, then I knew that I'm going to write a that I always know that I'm going to write a correct code.
Yeah.
So that's kind of understanding you need to focus when you're learning a programming language.
Yeah.
That's what a really nice question.
Yeah.
So now you understand how this type conversion can be avoided.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to show you this weird part in Python 2. So let's go to Python 2 and you'll see something different going on now. Let's do 3 by 2. 3 by 2 is 1.5.
Why is that?
Yeah, and in
Yeah.
Python is 1. And I'll show you, I'll prove it that to you. Let's comment it. Print 3 by 2. That's 1.5, right?
Yeah.
But in Python 2, it's 1.
Okay.
And if I write 3.0 by 2, then it becomes 1.5.
Oh, okay. It works differently.
Yeah, this is what was changed. You see, the change is very at a very deep level. It's
Yeah.
not a change which can be transferred. So that's why the moving application from Python 2 to Python 3 is nearly like very difficult.
Impossible.
Yeah, because the changes you see, I have never imagined me come like doing something that 3 by 2 will never become 1.5 for me.
Yeah.
But now I've moved to a new zone, a new world where it becomes 1.5.
Yeah.
The kind of error that I can get inside an application is beyond my understanding. I don't know. Like the whole construct of language understanding is changed now.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep on showing you this kind of difference so that you know that if you are doing something on Python 2, you are like going in a very new world.
Yeah.
It's like everything is different here and it's at a very deeper level. Not you can see directly on a top level. It's like kind of division happening. You see, it's such a small thing,
Yeah.
but it's very deep down. That division is
Yeah.
very deep. So that's one of the biggest difference. Again, a biggest difference. Like these are the biggest difference. The print one's the biggest difference. Next is this. So that was Python 2 and Python 3 difference.
Yeah.
And I like obviously you will never work on Python 2. That's what my understanding is.
Yeah.
But if like somewhere down the line you want to work, then you have to somehow understand new concepts,
Yeah.
because I'm just showing you like a little bit stuff, but lots of things have changed.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if somebody says that which language you want to work upon, like Python version, you always say Python 3.
Yeah. Python 3.
That's the thing, like Python 3, because why would you
Yeah.
want to work on if somebody is emphasizing let's do Python 2, then always try to make him, make like say him that why we want to work on Python 2, like a older version,
Yeah.
when there's no support. Like supporting is there, but like there's no development on that version.
Yeah.
So yeah, Python 3 it is.
Yeah.
So that's the numbers part. Now let's see comments. So you have been seeing how I'm writing comments. So
Yeah.
that's the way of writing comments. I just write hash
Yeah.
and
Just
write
write a
something.
hash.
Just
Yeah.
hash. If you
Yeah.
want to write multi-line comments, then you can add more hash. That's a multi-line
Yeah.
comment.
Okay.
That's there's nothing more than that in comments.
Yeah.
So I've been commenting the whole code for a long time. So in your Genie, you might be having a shortcut for commenting. So for me, how it works is, if I want to uncomment this, so see, I select these lines
Yeah.
and then I do command slash. So it gets uncommented. If it's
Yeah.
uncommented, it's get commented.
Yeah.
So there must be a shortcut for you in Genie also.
Yeah.
So you can either do hash. Right now you can avoid shortcut because you're learning language.
Yeah.
But as you move on, you might want to comment a whole block.
Yeah.
So then you can just directly do a shortcut.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
now we have like I have two exercises for numbers also. So
Yeah.
I'll quickly show you that. It's just writing those addition, subtraction, multiplication, division for a specific number and printing them out.
Yeah.
So it's like the exercises are pretty easy. It
Yeah.
just I want you to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. That's
Yeah.
important.
Sure. Yeah.
If you write something, because if you don't do the way I want to do, then you eventually miss those concepts.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
doing an addition subtraction that result in number 8, you can write this code in so many ways. But I am giving you instruction, write in like this. You should always create 4 lines and you should write like the print 5 plus 3, then print the line.
Yeah.
So that way I'm
Okay.
controlling your code so that you stick to the concept rather than writing anything out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So these are the two exercises, and
Yeah.
that basically wraps up the first part, variables and data types.
Yeah.
So I have 9 exercises for you, and I
Yeah.
will show you then of Python, which is like
Yeah.
pretty funny and neat stuff. So
Yeah.
you now know about variables. You
Yeah.
now know about some of the types, the
Yeah.
data types that are out there, these strings and numbers, and
Yeah.
that's I think enough to work everywhere. Entire Python I've never gone beyond strings and numbers.
Yeah.
You can imagine why, because the world is outside is just numbers and strings.
Yeah. True.
Unless you want to use emojis, that's a whole new zone. But the
Yeah.
world outside is numbers and strings,
That's true.
right? So you
Yeah.
won't need any more data types more than this. And everything we will work around is using variables. But it's just the assigning concept. Right now I'm assigning int and string. Later on I might be assigning a variable a list. Later on I might be assigning variable a function. So it just assignment is still the same.
Yeah.
The key takeaway is in Python, everything is an object. If
Yeah.
somebody says that this thing is not an object, that guy is fooling around.
Yeah.
Python, everything is an object. That's like a thing you should have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah. Sure.
A single operation, something I'm doing on those objects. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll show you the Zen of Python, which is pretty, funny kind of thing. So whenever this language was created, the people who have created this language have written this kind of poem, which is called Zen of Python.
Oh.
This was written by Tim Peters, who was initial co-founder of Python. And this Zen basically explains how you write a Python code.
Yeah.
So it slides a beautiful is better than ugly, explicit is better than implicit, simple is better than complex, complex better than complicated. And then you can see there's one more line that although never is often better than right now. If implementation is hard to explain, it is bad idea. You see, these are just ideologies,
Yeah.
and you can look at them just by writing import this, and basically that prints that out. Once you write import this, now you have to
Yeah.
exit and open the Python again and put import this. We will never do this line, never ever in our codes.
Yeah.
This is something which is like it's like guidelines. and
Yeah.
it's quite fun to read. You can just try it out, and
Yeah.
it'll open up your concepts of writing code. Like it's a kind of a way you should write codes. Obviously, you should always write a simple code than complex code, right?
Yeah.
So that's it's just kind of a guideline. So that's the Zen of Python, and obviously I won't have any exercises for you for that.
Yeah.
So that's like 9 exercises, and that's the
Yeah.
basic part. So that's good thing we're able to done that.
Yeah.
Now we still have 15 minutes. So I'll just give you basic introduction about list. And see, I
Yeah.
gave you this whole outline, and we are just still here, which is fine.
Yeah.
It just I want to give you, like, I don't know what kind of pace we will go upon. So
Yeah.
I try to cover up as max length as I can go,
Yeah.
and then let's try to catch as much as we can.
Yeah.
And then eventually we'll obviously reach here someday. So
Yeah.
then in that case I'll give you more outline.
Yeah.
So now next thing that I'll just show you in a very, like, we can work on this introduction only. Maybe the first part you wanted to do the exercises. So let's create a new folder now. So I'm going to do basics 2 now. Okay, so basic 1 is done. So I'll create a new folder. Session basics 2. And let me just commit this once, so that um, I also show you how I don't worry about this committing thing that I'm doing right now. This is how I put code inside my GitHub. Adding sessions, commit 3 files, push, pull, merge. You don't worry about this, okay?
Okay.
This is something that I am doing for myself, so that
Yeah.
I'm able to get pushing. Yeah, so commit. So now if you go at your code, you should see this session basic 1, right?
Yeah.
If you just try opening that.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, you see all these PY files I'm creating in front of you.
Yeah.
Variable, string, and if you open that, you'll see all that thing commented, but it will give you an idea what I did and where I did.
Yeah.
If you're going through my video for that concept and you want to copy that code or look at that code, you can obviously come back to this Python files.
Yeah.
Right now, these files are pretty basic, but as we move on to like a bigger projects, this GitHub becomes very important, because then
Yeah.
you might have to go back to my code and try to see how I've done it.
Yeah.
But that's how this whole course will work. I'll keep on pushing codes here.
Yeah.
And see, I just did it in front of you, and I explained this, what I did right now, later on also. Because it's very
Yeah.
good idea to have this GitHub skills. It's very
Yeah.
very nice.
Yes.
Once you know GitHub, you will like remove, like, won't go to any version control ever. It's
Yeah.
very amazing.
Yeah.
And see, it's so easy to share my code. Like, I just gave you that code right now. Just one click, click, and just done. So now you
Nice.
have code. Similarly, as soon as we keep on progressing, this whole file will keep on increasing,
Yeah.
and you will always have to reference to go back to wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
So let's start with list. So in list, we'll be going through multiple examples, and I try to make all the coming examples as connected to the real world as possible, so that it'll be easy for you to grab it. So let's create this file and let's talk about bicycles, because it becomes much better if you are able to connect with the real world. And let's first talk about what list is. So you have seen int, you have seen string, you have seen these classes, right?
Yeah.
And this is the real type that those are very generic. Those are like the thing out there those are the building blocks, you can say.
Yeah.
So we saw int, we saw string, and those, you can say, those are the building blocks of everything that is going to come out there. And right now we'll talk about lists. Intro list, you can say just list. So what is a list? You should know the understanding. So from the name, you can eventually guess that list is just collection of something, right?
Yeah.
It's like my list, my to-do list. This list is just that. Understanding is still the same here. This is a collection of items in a particular order. This is where little bit this becomes important. That is still a collection of items, but there's a kind of order there.
Yeah.
The way I enter the item, there's an order. And you can obviously guess that inside a list, I can have numbers, right? I can have strings, and I can also have numbers and strings. And can you guess anything else that I could put inside list?
Boolean.
Sorry, what?
I mean, you. Yeah, I think numbers are string and string. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. Like there are some things out there
Yeah.
like emojis. Yes, definitely. Right.
Yeah.
But for us, for the world, this is enough. I could put number, I could string, I can combine them.
Yeah.
And that should be enough to work around the list. Like entire codes won't go beyond number strings
Yeah.
because there's no need, right? So let's create our first list. Let's create that. So that's in the so creating list is very easy, right? Let's create a list. It just the syntax. All you need to remember the syntax, and that's it. So
Yeah.
let's call this list bicycles. Obviously, you can guess I'm creating a variable. I have to create a variable.
Yeah.
I have to store that list somewhere, and you can
Yes.
obviously guess that this will be an object because not everything is an object, right?
Yeah.
Now I have to create a list. I'll create string list. Like bicycles are the names, right? Names of bicycles.
Yeah.
So I just put this two brackets, two square brackets,
Yeah.
and I can write Trek as a bicycle name, then Canon as a bicycle name, Redline, specialized, and that's it. That's how you create a list.
Yeah.
Every concept in Python is just one line. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Every basic concept is just one line of code.
Yeah.
And then I'm
Okay.
gonna my whole lecture of this list is gonna revolve this whole list part one and part two. This thing will all things will going to revolve around this kind of list.
Yeah.
Just nothing else. Now
Yeah.
let's print it out. See, just list printed out.
Yeah.
Nothing else. But because I've shown you a sneak peek, obviously I can do this. I can do type, get the type of bicycles. Now, can you guess what the type will be?
All right.
Almost correct. It is a class of list.
Yeah.
It obviously, because you're coming from different language background, you can think of array if you're working on C, C++. But yes,
Yeah.
because everything is an object, your first sketch has to be that this bicycle is an object. And that is what it is. It is a class list. It's of class list. That means it's the object of class list. So we have seen
Yeah.
int, we have seen str. Now we have seen a new class called list. And that's what it is. It's just a class.
Yeah.
And this class comes with a lot of operations.
Yeah.
Let's see some of these operations, and those operations are very neat and nice and useful. Let's forget about underscores, but you see appending, copy, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, sort. We'll be looking through all of these operations
Yeah.
throughout this whole part.
Yeah.
That's what this part 1 part 2 is.
Yeah.
Every operation is important. Every operation is the way we can deal with list, and it gives you a lot of way of interacting and performing operations on this. And you can imagine this list is a data structure. You know about data structures?
Data structures.
Yeah. So in a particular language,
Yeah.
in any language, if you have worked on C, C++, there'll always be some kind of data structures.
Oh, I heard of that before.
Yeah, obviously, right? So
Yeah.
list is one of the data structures that we'll first work on. Then we'll go on other different types of data structure, including dictionaries.
Yeah.
That's also a data structure.
Yeah.
So what a data structure is just a way to store data inside a programming language.
Yeah.
We initially saw int and str. If you say these are data structures, that's not wrong. Those are still data structures. They are just very primitive.
Yeah.
They just store one thing, like int, like number, like string. But what if I want to have a very complex data structure?
Like a big one?
Like a list, like arrays.
Do you store it in a database or something?
No. I'm not talking about database here at all.
Okay.
I'm just talking
Okay.
programming language.
Yeah.
So database is gonna be connected from outside. Database goes beyond Python. There's something out there. Python doesn't really support database. I'm talking from a language perspective. So data structures are basically the way I store data inside a language. So see, this is data, right?
Yeah.
I'm storing inside a language. Basically, what this happens is whenever I say bicycles to this, somewhere inside my RAM, Python stored this data.
Oh, so they store it in a RAM?
In the RAM, yeah, that's the memory. That's only the memory that I can access, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I run this language, this guy goes out there inside my RAM, put this
Yeah.
data in some address space. And whenever I say print, it gets the data from the address space.
Oh, yes.
That's how program languages work.
Yeah.
That's why I say that because it goes back to C, the interaction is very fast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it has to deal with JVM. JVM has to deal with its own address space. Then it has to go with the memory, the RAM. But for
Yeah.
Python, it's easy because it goes to that language which is directly, interacting with the memory.
Yeah.
But even for int and str, you can imagine that whenever I say variable is equal to 10, it goes and store that to RAM.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can't really run this on show it on my UI. Execution of a code will happen on RAM, so data
Yeah.
has to be there on RAM.
Yes.
And when I'm going to explain you a concept of this copy by value and reference, that's where you'll start getting the hit of how RAM is storing the data.
Yeah.
So that's where that I'll show you a diagram that how this RAM stores data, and that's where you'll start getting it more. But as of now, just understand that that's why it's called data structure, because
Yeah.
I'm storing a data in a structured format, one, and I'm storing it at a programming languages level. I'm not dealing with databases at all.
Yeah.
So that's like the list. That's how you print a list. And the next thing is what if, so let's just do this one, accessing element, then we can stop. What if you want to access element from a list? So the way how list data is defined, obviously you can say that there's the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah.
I can just say that get me the second element. So that's 2.
Yeah.
But in list, and especially if you know arrays, index start with 0.
Oh, so every index starts with 0, 1, 2,
Yeah, so
3,
it's the
4.
same.
Yeah.
It's same thing. It's you can say list as same as array, except array was a primitive type in C. List here is not a primitive type. It becomes an
Yeah.
object-oriented thing. You see, there's
Yeah.
a class there.
Yeah.
You can never see a class of list, a class of array in C.
Yeah.
But now we deal with object-oriented stuff, so this becomes a class. That's just the difference. The underlying concept is the same. So this guy is at 0 position,
Yeah.
and this guy is at 1. This guy is at 2. Because array, so you'll be easy for you to grab this. 3.
Yeah.
Now for accessing elements, I can just say print bicycles 0, right?
Yeah.
And it will get me that, because this is how you deal with arrays, right?
Yeah. That's how I do it.
Yeah, but you to get those index,
Yeah.
you just pass the index and get back the element. That's just the
Yeah.
accessing of elements.
Yeah.
I want to access 1, I can just write 1. The only thing to remember here, that index starts with 0.
Yeah. I
Just
done that
like,
in Visual Basic and it starts with 0 as well.
yeah. So that's how the whole programming
Yeah.
world works. Like special, I
Yeah.
don't think any language supports one index, but there are some languages out there.
Yeah.
It'll be wrong to say that it's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Now you can see that this guy is again an object, right?
Yeah.
This string, there's no such thing as without object in Python. There's still an
Yeah.
object. So
Yeah.
I can do the same thing. I can just say dot title, right? And see, it
Yeah.
caps now. You see why it's important to understand the concept that everything in Python is object. So even if
Yes.
you're writing a string, that doesn't mean it doesn't have those properties. Even when I'm accessing it, this thing becomes of type str. I'll show you that. That's why I keep on using type. So when I access that, it becomes of, see, the class is str.
Yeah. It's a string.
It's a string, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Even if I'm writing a symbol number, it is an object.
Yeah.
That means if it's an object, then I can use dot title. That's what I'm doing here, and it's working perfectly.
Yeah.
If this guy wouldn't have been an object, then I couldn't have done dot title. I could never do that.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's the thing about Python. Everything is an object, and that's something that's like a big takeaway you need to understand.
Yeah.
Now, when we'll continue on this and continue on the index position.
Yeah.
So we'll stop here. We'll start working on that, and we
Yeah.
have covered a lot. So at least you have 9 exercises to go.
Yeah.
And next time when we meet, try to finish this list, part 1, part 2.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll be meeting on Wednesday,
Yeah. Wednesday.
right? Wednesday,
Yeah.
this same time.
Yeah,
and
the
I'll be
same time.
going through this, and you can imagine that this entire course, like till this basic part, it'll be hardly 1 2 line 1 3 lines of code. Maybe stored
Yeah.
code will start as soon as we progress, the code will start becoming more and more,
Yeah.
but I will always write in front of you.
Okay.
Every time I'm writing a big code, a small code, I will always write in front of you.
Yeah.
The important thing about writing is as soon as I'm writing it, I can explain you why
Yeah.
I'm writing that.
Yeah.
And if you have some doubt, you can always say me, you run it right now and show me why it's not working.
Okay.
So that's how interactivity can happen. If I
Yeah.
start pasting code from here and there, then the whole thing falls apart, right?
Yeah.
I'll just explain the whole code and it'll become another lecture for you.
Yeah.
That this guy explaining that is going to work. So I won't
Yeah.
do that. I'll always write code in front of it the way I'm writing right now.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's obviously bad. I know because
Yeah.
I am there. I have been there where you are. I have been
Yeah.
learning languages. I know how bad it can go if something is very theoretical.
Yeah.
So I'll always keep on explaining concept by proving it. So with the way I proved using dir and type, you see, I proved it right now. That this is a object.
Yeah.
I'll always prove a concept directly in front of you, and this is the way you understand that concept. Okay,
Yeah.
so we can